This is a video about the Lorelei, which in Germany is both a rock along the Rhine River and a mysterious legendary female figure connected to that rock. About both, some things are told. Please note that when I speak or recite, it is done by a not native English speaker who actually writes often in English but seldom speaks it. And it implies a strange accent and mistakes. That is why, when possible, I have used for some parts an artificial voice. Oh yeah, me, that is Gunifortus Goos, a Dutch who lives in Germany.
One of the rivers with the most shipping traffic in the world is the Rhine, which flows through several European countries. Its name is derived from the Indo-European word root rhenos, which means to flow and to stream. Its headwaters are in Switzerland, mostly in the canton of Graubünden. It flows into the North Sea with several branches in the Netherlands and is a good 765 miles long. The river is divided into various sections. This contribution focuses on the specific part of that river called the Middle Rhine. The mentioned section is about 81 miles long and lies between the German cities of Bingen and Bonn. In addition, the Middle Rhine River Valley is one of the most important cultural landscapes in Germany. The most beautiful stretch of land in Germany, described the poet Heinrich von Kleist, on which our great gardener worked visibly con amore, are the banks of the Rhine from the cities of Mainz to Koblenz. In particular, it is about the upper Middle Rhine Valley section, which has UNESCO World Heritage status and is often referred to as the Valley of the Lorelei. Having said this, the central theme is already mentioned, as it is about the Lorelei. The name in its oldest meaning refers to a slate rock face near the village of Sankt Gorshausen. This 144 yards high rock is located at the deepest and narrowest point of the Middle Rhine and belongs to the German state of Rhineland-Palatinate. The Loreley Passage used to be one of the most dangerous stretches of the Rhine for shipping. The riverbed, which was still around 328 yards wide shortly before this passage, is now only 175 yards wide at the Loreley Rock, and even just 158 yards wide at a nearby point. At the Loreley, the Rhine was about 27 yards deep. This makes it the narrowest and deepest point on its entire navigable section between Basel and Rotterdam. A little further on, the river is usually around 273 yards wide, but then winds its way through the rock massif in tight bends. However, the danger to shipping decreased considerably after several rocks on the Loreley site were blown up in the 1930s at very low water levels. However, the Loreley Passage is still an increased risk for ships. The Loreley Rock is part of the Taunus Low Mountain Range, which in turn is part of the Rhenish Slate Mountains. This Rhenish Low Mountain Range in Germany is partly located in the German federal states of North Rhine-Westphalia, Rhineland-Palatinate, Hesse, and Saarland. As a geographical unit, however, it extends further into the countries of Luxembourg, France, and Belgium, and includes the Ardennes. The rock is geologically around 4 million years old and has been since several centuries a center of Rhine Romanticism, at least since the 19th century. The view from the top of the rock with the view of the Rhine curves, the nearby villages, and the old castles of Katz and Rheinfels has become a magnet for tourists from all over the world. The Loreley open-air stage was built near the viewpoint at the top of the Loreley Rock in 1939 and regularly hosts rock concerts and other major events that also attract many international visitors.
Over now to the mysterious and legendary sorceress or fae called Lorelei, who is connected to that rock carrying the same name. Since the Lorelei, both the rock and the figure, have enjoyed so much international renown, it has also been visited since by a stunning amount of visitors each year. Today, there are 3 statues of the Lorelei woman on and near the rock. One of these statues stands since 1983 at the foot of the rock on a small promontory separating the Lorelei harbor from the Rhine. That bronze sculpture was made by the Russian sculptor Natasha Alexandrova Princess Yusupov, who lives in Paris. Another statue stands on the famous rock in a nice spot with a view of the Rhine and 2 castles. And since spring 2023, a third Lorelei figure is also standing on the Lorelei rock. It was created by the Berlin sculptor Valerie Otte. Despite everything that has been said so far, there are many other beautiful viewpoints along the Middle Rhine part, and there is much more background knowledge about the rock and its name. The Lorelei rock did not achieve its current worldwide fame as a beautiful and historic natural phenomenon. It is the mythical female figure called Lorelei who found her way into literature, poetry, painting and sculpture, who is responsible for this. Many of the paintings and drawings of her, made by famous and less famous artists, were created since the Romance era, and they show the Lorelei often scantily dressed and even a few times without clothing at all. But there are also artists who depicted her dressed. It was the poem by the German poet Heinrich Heine that first brought the Lorelei to the attention of the general public, and for most artists this may have been the reason for their depictions. Later in this video I will try to sing Heine's short ballad on her for you. However, in Heine's work, the Lorelei, although beautiful, it is her voice that seduces the audience so much that they stop paying attention and get drowned, and not an almost naked figure as she is often depicted. Yet Heine was not the first poet who wrote about the Lorelei. Most researchers agree that this mythical figure was the brainchild of the German poet Clemens Brentano, who can be considered being a poet from the early Romanticism. He has situated his famous ballad at Bergerac on the Rhine, also called Lorelei, in the Middle Ages, and chose the small town of Bergerac as its main setting. Before reciting Brentano's ballad, written in the year 1801, he affirms its content in short prose. Lorelei is introduced as a sorceress, whose enchanting beauty is the source of her formidable magic. Every man who gazes upon her falls under her spell, often leading to his demise. This prompts a bishop to summon her before a spiritual tribunal. However, he too succumbs to her allure, unable to pass judgment or condemn her to death, as he finds himself hopelessly in love with her. In a twist of fate, Lorelei pleads for her own condemnation. Heartbroken by the departure of her beloved, she has grown weary of life. Ironically, the spell that should have ensnared the man she truly loves fails to take hold. Instead of sentencing her to death, the bishop decides to confine her to a convent. Accompanied by 3 knights, she rides to that monastery. As they journey, Lorelei yearns for a last glimpse of her lover's castle and climbs a rocky outcrop overlooking the Rhine. There she spots a ship and, believing her beloved is aboard, leans too far forward and plunges into the river. The knights, unable to bear the loss, follow her into the death, by never leaving the rock face. So, now an English version of Brentano's German poem follows, containing 24 stanzas. It is recited in a translation by Alfred Baskerville.
Lorelei. At Bacharach there dwelleth a sorceress so fair, that many a heart unwary her beauty did ensnare. She wrought both shame and sorrow on many a knight around. For him there was no rescue, whom her love's fetters bound. The bishop had her summoned with spiritual care, but fain would grant her pardon, she was so passing fair. He spoke with pity's accents, Poor Lorelei, O tell, who is it hath misled thee to work thy evil spell? O let me die, Lord Bishop, life I no longer prize. For all rush to destruction that look upon mine eyes. Mine eyes are flaming firebrands, mine arm a magic wand. O let the flames consume me, O break in twain my wand. No, ere I can condemn thee, must thou to me disclose why in these flaming firebrands my heart already glows. To strive to break asunder thy magic wand were vain, then would my heart be broken, sweet Lorelei, in twain. O laugh not thus, Lord Bishop, thou hapless one to scorn, but pray that God his mercy may show to the forlorn. O I may live no longer, to love I bid adieu. Give me the death I yearn for this I came to you. My lover he forsook me, and did my heart betray. Now dwells he with the stranger, far, far from me away. Bright eyes so wild, yet gentle, the cheek of red and white, soft speech to form my circle, of magic charms unite. Myself therein must perish, my heart is rent in twain. When I behold my image, oh, I could die of pain. Let justice then be done me, a Christian's death my lot, for all is lost and vanished, since he is with me not. 3 knights he summoned, let her peace in a convent find, Golora be commended to God thy troubled mind. A nun shalt thou be henceforth, a nun in black and white, and while on earth prepare thee for death's eternal flight. And now unto the convent the knights all 3 repair, and sorrowful amidst them rode Lorelei the fair. Sir knights, I pray ye let me this lofty rock ascend, I long at my love's castle a parting look to send. The deep Rhine's flowing billows I fain once more would see, then going to the convent, God's virgin bride to be. The craggy rock soars lofty, its side is steep and rude, yet up the height she climbed, till on the top she stood. The knights bound fast their chargers, and left them in the vale. They climbed the rock, and higher still they scale. The maiden spake, a vessel upon the Rhine I see. He who therein is standing, my own sweet love shall be. My heart beats so serenely, he must be mine. Then o'er the verge inclining, she plunges in the Rhine. And all the knights they perished, unable to descend. No grave there to receive them, no priest their death to tend.
In this context, there is a question that is often repeated in various forms. What do poets like Brentano here refer to when they write a story, a fairy tale? How much is his invention? According to his statement, he invented it. And how much is folklore and legend? And how much is poetic license? From what and where did the poet draw his material? Can all later songs, operas, poems, and stories, and there are hundreds of them, simply be traced back to material that was once rhymed together and invented? Or is there, as in so many myths, legends, and sagas, a true core behind it, the authenticity of which appeals to people? At the least, the name of the rock at the Rhine did exist long before Brentano. Yet, sure, these are for the most part rhetoric questions. For the pure questions, we do not have satisfying answers, but there is more to say about it. Read in the article mentioned at the end here.
Yet it was the poem by the already mentioned 19th century poet Heinrich Heine which brought the mysterious Lorelei her worldwide fame, as this poem was translated in numerous languages. The German composer Friedrich Schiller is known today mainly for his songs, but he also composed motets, chamber music, and 2 overtures for large orchestra. However, today, except for connoisseurs of music, he is mainly known for his setting of Heine's Lorelei poem on music. In this musical form, created in 1837, it probably contributed decisively to the worldwide fame of Heine's poem and the Lorelei in general. The song is recorded since by numerous artists. However, if I would add here one of them, I may violate copyrights. Thus, hear now me myself singing it in the famous translation by the American poet and writer Mark Twain. Although I did not sing since long, not being a singer at all, thus having a completely untrained voice for this, I dared to give it a try. Most certainly very imperfect. I cannot define what it meaneth, this haunting nameless pain. A tale of the bygone ages keeps brooding through my brain. The faint air cools in the gloaming, and peaceful flows the Rhine. The thirsty summits are drinking the sunset's flooding wine. The loveliest maiden is sitting high-throned in yon blue air. Her golden jewels are shining, she combs her golden hair. She comes with a comb that is golden, and sings a weird refrain that steeps in a deadly enchantment the listener's ravished brain. The doomed in his drifting shallop is tranced with a sad sweet tone. He sees not the yawning breakers, he sees but the maid alone. The pitiless bilboes engulf him, so perish sailor and bark. And this with her baleful singing is the Lorelei's gruesome work. Since then, the Lorelei was in the center of many more poems and songs, and there also exist legends and a fairy tale related to her. None of them originate from the time before Clement Brentano wrote his ballad you heard before. Nonetheless, here's one of those tales.
The Legend of the Loreley. The mountain fairy Loreley once lived in the former Loreley Cave, which no longer exists today. The voice of the graceful fairy echoed mysteriously in the rocky backdrop. She made countless men's hearts beat faster and tremble in blissful delight, especially when the craggy walls of the lake glowed in the evening sun, or the cliffs were reflected in the yellow light of the moon from the swirling salt water at the foot of the grotto formations. Her bright figure could be recognized on the mountain peaks. Many a boatman who sought their proximity sank into the tangle of breakers without his body ever being recovered. Only some fishermen from the surroundings seemed to be fond of her. Their nightly catches were so plentiful that after just a few years their prosperity allowed them to swap their poor huts on the Rhine for 2- and 3-story buildings in the higher class streets of their villages. But those of them who gossiped about their encounters with the beautiful maiden suddenly lost their hunting luck forever. However, the favor she bestowed on the gifted remained no secret. The reputation of her graceful beauty spread far beyond the borders of the Middle Rhine region. The young hereditary Count of the Palatinate also learned of the wonderful favor bestowed on many a protege. Seized by an unimaginable longing, the young man secretly left the care of his father's court to win the love of the beautiful Loreley. He was guided to her magical realm by sailors of the same age. As the sunset faded and the first stars twinkled in the sky, the Count's boat reached the gigantic gorge below the 7 Virgins. Under the spell of a wondrous song echoing in the rocky backdrop, they spotted the enchanting appearance of the Loreley above the steepest rock face. The bachelor impetuously drove the oarsmen to land. Now only a few steps separated them from the scree bank, but they all stared upwards. Then their strength on the oars flagged. The helmsman forgot his duty. The boat swayed down into the valley without a guide. In sudden impatience, the hereditary Count jumped off the ship and disappeared into the maelstrom with the cry, "O Loreley!" After the Count Palatine had learned of his son's demise from his returning companions, he ordered his heir to capture his son's corruptor. That same evening, a captain of the Count Palatine approached the shore of the Loreley with vengeful warriors, who they spotted in the ghostly vales of the steep face. The mountain was soon surrounded, and the captain and his boldest men scaled the rocky massif. They spotted the sorceress again on the jutting crest. "Pagan woman, now you must pay for your misdeeds," shouted the leader as he blocked the fiend's path to the grotto. "It's not you to judge me," cried the distressed woman. She threw her pearl jewelry into the flood, and her voice shrilled across the water. "Father, quickly, quickly, send the wild horses to your child. She wants to ride on the waves' wind." Immediately waves rose rock high like raging beach breakers and carried the fairy away into the gray of the evening vapors until she disappeared. It was deathly quiet above the roaring waves. The Loreley has not been seen since. Only in the manifold echoes does she mock the callers on the rock.
And this completes this video. If you are interested in reading and viewing much more about the Lorelei, at my website, Boudica's Bard, there's a free 99 pages PDF file you can read or download.